you don't have to give specifics, but everyone has been repeatedly adding me to find out who is like the biggest cringe or biggest person on the like the YouTube celebrity, whatever, on the right, that you were working with.
Oh, that I've like met face to face.
Sure.
Hmm. Ooh, that's a tough one because there's a lot of them.
I was
And
gonna ask, how did you get like started in the more conservative side of YouTube? Is that just because that's like the family you were coming from?
it was a little bit of, yeah, I mean that definitely played a pretty significant role. I mean my grandparents were they kind of still are like really big Tea Party conservative types.
Oh wow.
So I have a lot of respect for them as far as like they got me into politics. However, we disagree on virtually everything now. But yeah, they definitely played an influence. I was raised in a more sort of Republican household, but I also was raised in an environment that wasn't hyper political. So, for example, like the 2008 election, the main thing I remember is like my parents didn't want Obama to win. That was like all I kind of knew. Like I didn't really like know about politics. I was still kind of young.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I would say it was some influence from where I just how I was raised. And then also as I got older and became more active on social media, I followed a lot of right-wing pages. And it's funny because I look back and it's like I feel like I didn't even question some of the shit that I just followed and like consumed like it was true. I mean, I was following that page. It was called like Right Wing News. Actually, I think it got deleted off Facebook now.
Was it just like a
Um
Facebook group, or was it an actual Facebook news page?
No, it was like, yeah, it was a Facebook page where they would post right wing news. It was called like it was just called right wing news,
Oh
and
wow.
they posted all that dumb shit that I used to cite. I mean, they were actually the original people that posted the study with or what Dr. Paul McHugh said about trans people having a mental disorder. So that was how I found that article way back then.
Ah, interesting.
So
How
yeah.
did you even get into YouTubing? Was it just like something you wanted to do?
I mean, yeah, I've been into doing video shit forever. I mean, I have like old home movies I made when I was like 6. My dad filming like little pictures I drew to like go to the next like slide or whatever. So I've been doing video forever, and then I guess me and my brother we decided to start doing like some YouTube skits on a different channel. This was back in like 2011, 2012. Um and then from that point on, I really got into it. I remember my first video me and my brother posted got like 100 views, and I was so excited. I could not believe it was like 100 fucking views. And so from there, I started to get really into making YouTube videos with my siblings. They weren't as into it as I was, so eventually, that channel just kind of it was a good start. But
And
that channel,
when did it actually blow up? Was it that video that you made? The one
the
that you just
trans
called out of?
video.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually like a whole series of different videos that sort of popped off. What really happened was, and it's funny because I understand that it appears like a very calculated move, but it really wasn't in the way it happened. But what happened was I was doing YouTube content on my own channel since late 2014.
Okay.
And that's back when I was making like the really corny, cringy, like top 10, whatever, like the cringy
Yeah.
stuff. And then as I started following more news stuff, I started getting more and more into politics, and I was really passionate about like how I felt about a lot of politics. And so from that point on, I started to make like anti-feminist content, and I was unaware of like the massive wave of anti-feminist content
Hmm.
that was like I was unaware that there was a huge demand for it on YouTube, because I was like back when I was 18 or 19, I didn't have as much of an understanding with the YouTube marketing kind of shit as I do now. So for me, it was very much like I saw some dumb shit happening with like feminists. I thought they were really dumb and really annoying. And so I was
And you
like,
would
well,
make
I have
those cringe compilations kind of things, or like the top tens?
I didn't do top tens. No, I always, and this is actually like there are certain qualities that I brought to YouTube that I still try to bring today, which is just I would try to make my content much more unique than just the top 10 stuff. So I did my first feminist video was like 8 reasons why I don't like feminism or something. Um and then from there, I mean, it just I started off making those videos too because they were something that at the time I was really passionate about, and I really like felt very strongly about some of the feminist issues. So, you know, I know it's funny because it definitely looks like a very calculated move and decision, but it really wasn't. It was kind of just
Well, I was going to say, to me, it looks more like a feedback loop. Like, you probably did one of those videos. It gets, like, for the first time, you pass that 100-view barrier, and suddenly you're like, whoa, this is popular. And it's something like, you already enjoyed talking about because, again, they were pissing you off. And then all of a sudden, it was
right.
like, well, why don't I keep doing these, right?
Right. And I'd see I'd already had videos on my channel that I think my most viewed video at the time was like 10K hits. So I was
Okay.
still really a small channel. But yeah, I started to see some pretty significant growth around the end of 2015 and then especially 2016. And then it was right in February of 2016 when I posted the transgender video, which really like I talked about in my video I posted the other day. That's kind of what solidified my bad reputation in a lot of ways.
And then once that started, and I guess you were starting to like blow up, did it influence, like, was that starting to influence you wanting to get into other topics that, you know, a lot of people would find problematic today or like conservative? Or was it that, you know, you were following maybe some more conservative people? Like, did you go down that YouTube pipeline at all where you started watching like further and further conservative figures at all?
I definitely consumed like I would watch a lot of Sargon back in 2016.
Oh,
Embarrassing,
okay.
embarrassing, I know. But back in 2016, I would watch a lot of Sargon of Akkad. And to be honest, he was a little less crazy back then than
Oh
he is
yeah,
now.
no question. No
Maybe
question.
he's just gone more mask off. I'm not sure, but either way, he was a little bit better back then, in my defense. But I never really went through the full pipeline, and that was mostly because I was much more, and I still am this way, much more interested in creating content for YouTube than I was consuming it.
Mhm.
So I didn't really go down that pipeline. I did the closest I got was I watched a couple like Richard Spencer clips,
Okay.
but I always thought he was stupid, kind of from the start.
That's
Like
good
it's
to
funny yeah,
hear.
from the start I remember thinking like this guy thinks that like it should be a white only country, and that was before I had a lot of understanding of like how the alt-right really operated and shit. But I remember just thinking he was, even back then I was like this guy's just he's kind of
Yeah.
stupid.
Well, that's good. That's good. It's good to know
Yeah,
there was
it's
like there was a
what's
cap.
sad to me though is and this is, you know, it's going to be a long process to try and fix some of the damage I've caused, but it really makes me sad when I see comments that say that I contributed to people going down that pipeline towards the far right.
Really?
Yeah,
And
and
you've
I
seen those
mean,
before.
I've seen I've seen a couple comments like that before, and every time, I mean, they really make me sad and regretful with a lot of the shit that I talked about and spread back then. Um, so it's a long process. I guess that's kind of where we're at now.
Did you
But
meet a lot of the people in those circles? Like, did you meet Sargon of Akkad, and did you start having dialogues with a lot of them?
oh yeah, I mean, I was just at a conference late last year with Sargon,
Okay.
actually, where we weren't there as friends anymore. But that was when I did my turning point speech on how censorship is like a myth and conservatives need to get the fuck over it.
Mm.
And it was kind of a funny story because I went up there first, I did my speech, and then right afterwards it was, you know, Sargon's turn to give his speech, and he was like, I don't even want to give my speech. Let's just skip to questions, because he like couldn't believe that
Whoa.
what I had like set up on stage, because it was an event called The Censored. So it was
Ah,
supposed
okay.
to be all about like social media censorship. And I was like, yeah, I know. I looked at what the data says, and it doesn't really seem to be that much of a problem, guys. So that was kind of fun.
Wow. So do you mind me asking, like, you don't have to obviously talk shit about any of these people. That's not what I'm trying to get you going down, but did like people like Lauren Southern, for example, or people of that, like, did you start collaborating with any of them? Like, I haven't gone through your whole catalog, so I don't know what
Right.
you've done. Like, are you usually doing solo stuff?
Well, yeah, like I didn't really do a lot of collaborations. The closest thing I did with a collab was this really cringy video I made back in, it was early 2017, and I had uh all of the cracks in there. I don't know what to call them. I had Lauren Chen did a little part for me in there, which I cannot stand her anymore. But I'm trying to think who else was part of it. Oh yeah, probably the only person I've collaborated with previously that I have now cut ties with was No Bullshit, and that was because
Oh no way. No
yeah,
way.
like I
Of
mean,
all people.
I know it's funny too, but like that one hurt the most, to be honest, because I mean I've hung out with the guy. Like we've hung out before in LA, like we hung out, did collabs, talks and
I
stuff.
totally want to do that. Like, what's he like?
And then all of a sudden it was like, fuck, like I saw some of the shit he had said in previous live streams. And I did confront him about it briefly.
Holy shit! Actually, does he believe that? I've always wondered because like he says some very race realist, like pretty intense shit on his program.
I don't really know, to be completely honest. Like he never said to me that yes, I believe that or no, I don't. But when I confronted him about it, he was very much like he is in other debates I've seen, where just very slippery, won't actually answer the question. Like it made him look more guilty than not.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I figure he's kind of a hide your power levels guy in everyday
I don't
life.
even know. I've since that conversation I had with him on Twitter was a little while back. Not Twitter, sorry, through text conversation. Actually, it was a while back now.
Mm-hmm.
We just haven't spoken. Like I've kind of cut ties with all those people.
So what? I know a lot of people are going to pinpoint this on Vosh, but I don't like as much as I don't want to give Vosh all the credit for like maybe changing your mind on certain aspects. Like was that your first or second appearance on Vosh's show to start with? The one
where we debated?
Yeah,
that was my first time.
So you've only had one conversation with him, or you spoken to him since?
No. What happened? Sorry, was he was making some videos calling me out, like responding to my old transgender video, for example.
Yeah.
And that was back early 2019, which it's not that long ago, but it feels like a long time ago now. But
yeah, it's been a long year.
Yeah, really. And I just noticed, actually, it's funny. I did notice that some of his videos on me were getting a decent amount of views, like 40, 50K hits. I was kind of like, shit, this is like, I might need to do some like respond to this guy actually, because he's kind of getting some attention on my content, and so I did a video he did a video like a follow up video on me, and then I did a video responding to him. Then he asked me to debate. Then I said yes. Then we debated, and then I came on his channel later on in August of 2019 as kind of an update to talk. And a lot of people, especially people who don't like me, are very reductionist about it. They're like, Hunter lost a debate to a fat communist and now he backtracked on everything.
It's
like,
holy shit.
And it's like, no, that's not really what happened. What happened was, and I kind of explained this in depth in my video on why I left the right, and my interview with Vosh, I talked about this, but what had really happened was I was starting to kind of reevaluate some of my beliefs already. I'd already realized that I was wrong about a lot of shit that I previously believed myself to be like 100% correct on. So I was already in that headspace, and then it was the debate with Vosh that really challenged my already like sort of crumbling worldview a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not as reductionist as a lot of people make it sound. Like I was just this tough conservative who all of a sudden lost one debate, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm wrong about everything. It was a much slower, gradual process.
That doesn't make sense to me. That's why I was like, it seems like that might have been a catalyst, right? Or that might have been like a really pivotal moment.
It definitely pushed me towards like actually looking a little more critically about some of my right-wing beliefs, mainly because Vosh was one of the first people who I spoke to on the left that actually brought like the numbers and the statistics, that's very much my language. That's how I'm convinced of something.
Yeah, same.
Is through the scientific evidence or the numbers or whatever. So to have Vosh really bring those sources to that debate, that was kind of what also forced me to do a little more research too. But no, it wasn't. I know it probably is easier for everyone to just say like, oh, it was just Vosh that did it, but it was a much longer kind of gradual process, especially because there's a lot going on behind the scenes, obviously, than what people see. It's not like I'm doing vlog videos. I talk politics, so no one really knows what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. But if someone was to watch basically like your videos in a series, would they get to a certain point where it's like, I'm starting to see a change in what he's talking about, or was it more
Yeah.
like dramatic?
Yeah, I mean, well, I understand that the change to the public, I guess, probably looked a little more dramatic. Um, I think that you would see some gradual patterns, and I think you would also see some things that are a little more abrupt. Um, I didn't really like think of it like that since it's more about I created my channel because I wanted to talk about what I believed in.
Yeah,
So that was really that's what's on my mind, not is this right? Is this left? Is this like I
yeah,
just
of
want to talk
course.
about what I believe in. So I'm sure there are some changes that are pretty abrupt though.
Um, the biggest video, I guess, that's on everyone's minds is the one you just put out, which, by the way, excellent. Like that was a really, really like when I watched that, by the way, because I've spoken to other people who, were considered really problematic in the past and now have kind of done full turns. Like I spoke to Shoe on Head not too long ago, but
Okay.
Shoe's never done what you've done, right? Like Shoe's never gone, I guess, point by point with one of her old videos, just dissecting every piece of it. Whereas in
Mhm.
this one, and you did bring the facts and the statistics and the language too, which was a really impressive thing to see. Is like you learned all the terms. I mean, like I'm cis myself, right? So like I'm always doing the same thing. Like
Mhm.
no one is woke. Like it's always like I
Yeah.
have to learn as much as I can every single day, and then you try to do your best, right? But you're gonna be always wrong about a ton of shit. Um,
Right.
but it was actually neat to see you put the time into that. So what can you just tell me a little bit about the process? What inspired it? Why did you go down it? How did you come about to doing it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, one of the big motivators for me doing that video was, I mean, that was the video that solidified so much of my notoriety as like being the hyper conservative transphobe, whatever. So I wanted to go through it for that reason, but also because I knew that like I said, I have totally gone full circle on trans issues. That's one
Mhm.
where that's something, and since it's something I'm really passionate about, I've put a lot of effort into trying to understand and doing the research and all that shit. So it was a topic that I was also very ready to kind of attack, because I knew that I had the numbers on my side and I knew that I could articulate my points better. And I also knew that presenting a video like that to my audience, which is still primarily on the right, I would assume, um, would be a better direction than like so for a while I wanted to do an updated like truth about trans people video where I told the actual real truth. But I was kind of contemplating how to do it, and I figured like my audience would have to be more receptive to me debunking myself than if I was going after, I don't know, some other like right-wing pundit who maybe they like. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I feel that it had a net positive just doing it the way I did. And yeah, like I said, it was a topic that I'm really, really interested in. So it was especially enjoyable for me to do the research and put it together and make sure that I was articulating my arguments as as good as I could.
Was it super cringy having to watch your young self go through that, or like rewatch yourself to rip it apart?
Yeah, there was definitely some cringe. I'd already watched it a few times though because I don't really script many of my videos anymore, but for that one I had a pretty solid outline because there were a lot of points I wanted to touch on. So I'd already gone through the video a couple times. So when I was actually filming it, I was a little less cringed out. But yeah, for a very long time, actually, I completely avoided watching that video because I knew that as soon as I watched it, I'd be cringing, and it was definitely really fucking cringy. But that's
what
hey, that's what another reason why I wanted to redo it, right? Like actually bring the actual truth about trans people.
Yeah. What was the feedback like from your audience? Because like you must have had an audience that you've curated for years on, certain elements of the transphobia from before.
Right. I mean, I the response actually was pretty positive. Far more positive than my like why I left the right video.
Mhm.
And you're right. I did have a pretty tight base, which has greatly been, shaken up now. Since my why I left the right video, I've lost almost it's getting closer, I think, to 30,000 subscribers that I've lost since then, which is
Whoa.
yeah. So I took a pretty big hit, and my views also, my like actual like numbers views, they've taken a pretty significant dip now. Also, I'm only averaging like 30 to like 80K hits, which is pretty low for me considering before I did the whole why I left the right thing, my videos were averaging anywhere between like 150 to up, like 150,000 plus. So that's another reason why it kind of is frustrating when people say that like I'm a grifter, I'm doing it for fame or popularity or something. It's like, as far as those, like the monetary gain and the gain of subscribers and popularity, I've only lost grounds in that aspect.
Mhm.
I haven't really gained too much. So, but yeah, the
Well, yeah,
feedback overall has
I'll
been
tell you this from experience. There's not a lot of money on the left. It's not exactly the route you pick when you're looking to grift.
right. No, I know. And also it's like the left is a lot more concerned with like a lot more concerned with authenticity, where the right just doesn't give a fuck. It's
Mhm.
like it's so easy to be a right wing grifter. It actually has made me sick seeing how some of these right wingers pick it up so quick. It's like if you're a girl with boobs and you say that you like guns and that like trans people are gross, then you're like almost guaranteed like 150K followers.
What
I
about
mean,
Dave Rubin? Have you ever met him?
yeah. Oh yeah. I've most of these conservative pundits I've actually met and been around because I used to be very much in that circle, and I've kind of been not like ostracized. That sounds kind of dramatic, but
Yeah.
I've definitely been like pushed out of those circles. I'm no longer friends with those people.
What's Dave like?
When I met him, he was actually pretty drunk. So I
Go on.
don't actually, I ended up embarrassing myself when I met him because, and I guess I came across sounding much more pretentious than I was actually trying to.
Mhm.
But I met him back. It would have been the very, very start of 2019 when because I was at a turning point event, so I was still very deep into my right wing circle then. Um, and I came up to him and I was like, "Hey, like you should have me on your show," because it used to kind of bother me because I would see him have other like much smaller creators on his show. I'd always wonder why he wouldn't have me on, and he was like, yeah, maybe, sure, no, we'll see." And then I
Oh
forget what I
shit!
said.
You got shade. You got Dave Rubin shade.
No, it gets worse than this, buddy. Believe me. I didn't even mean to sound as like fucking pretentious as I came across, but I was like, okay, yeah, cool. Like, if you want to have me on your show, I'll put you in touch with my manager, which I guess
Damn.
sounds pretty fucking cringy now.
Yeah.
And oh god, Dave Rubin just started laughing his ass off at me, and I was like, come on, man. Like, I wasn't really butthurt about it because it was kind of funny, and I realized it sounded cringy. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I was like, come on, Dave. Like, please, come on, let me come on your show. And it was pretty funny. He couldn't stop laughing, but he
Wow.
was pretty drunk and never heard from him since. So
Never since. Wow.
fun times.
That seems so strange to me. Like you would have seemed like up until the point where you maybe said like why I'm leaving the right, then he'd not want anything to do with you.
Well, I don't even think the thing is I don't actually know if Ruben really knew who I was or cared, and it doesn't matter to me anymore. But yeah, I'm seeing people in the chat. Just imagine Dave Rubin laughing at you. So, I know, guys. I know. Come on.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
too bad. One thing I was gonna say about the 30,000 sub loss or whatever, probably for the best. If you lost 30,000 people who were like, "Oh, you're not a transphobe anymore." Okay, well, like I guess I don't want to watch you. Like maybe
Right.
that's probably not the
No,
audience you wanted to curate anyway.
it has been for the best, and it's been a slow process because I've been trying to purge the alt-right from my following now for a while. And so
Did you have a big alt right following? I guess so, right?
I guess I did without almost realizing it, to be
Hmm.
completely honest, because I I don't I'm trying to think how to phrase this. I had a decent sized alt-right following, and although I was never alt-right. At least I would never have considered myself alt-right. I know back in the day Vosh called me a reactionary, which he was right about that. But I don't think I ever went alt-right because I never was into the JQ shit. I didn't even actually know like about that too much.
Yeah.
And then I was almost like naive to that. And I never really got into too many race politics. But my problem is that not so much that I was like breeding alt-righters, but that I was providing like a safe space, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
for the alt-right to kind of congregate where they were comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really came to my attention after the whole censorship fallout. That was my first legitimate fallout from the alt-right, when I was just reading some comments from my shit. And granted, some of the people hating on me were like Nick Fuentes fans, so I'm, there are plenty of those people too. But
The
some of the
gripers.
comments I saw were just so blatantly like neo-Nazi level shit.
Like anti-Semitic and the worst
Yeah,
kind of
just
shit.
saying stuff like, I can't believe you sold out to the Jews and all that kind of shit. And like,
Jesus.
that really like woke me up too, to the fact I was like, I have a much bigger alt-right following than I realized. And that also helped me kind of, I guess, get some awareness of the fact how the alt-right is so connected with just the like standard right, or however you want to call it.
Oh, there's a
Like,
lot of overlap.
right, there is so much overlap. And it was weird because it wasn't until I was sort of made aware of their dog whistles and how they communicate and talk. It wasn't until after that I started realizing, I was like, holy shit, this neo-Nazi stuff is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of a learning experience. And I know I'm not trying to like write it off as, oh, I was a naive kid or some shit. I mean, I'm responsible for my actions 100%, but it definitely was just a process for me kind of coming around to that. And especially since I was a right winger myself and a right wing YouTuber, very much in that kind of bubble, I was also, I would be one of those people to tell you like, oh, the alt-right, like they're bad, they believe gross things, but they're not really a big deal kind of thing, where now I'm much more aware of just how deep that shit really goes.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you is that, like, you did a really good thorough response to one of your videos, right? But there's a lot of people who, when I said I was interviewing you, they're like, you have to ask him about all the other videos he has that are still up, right? The ones that are still like earning clicks and stuff, but still do have a ton of damaging information in them. What is your plan for those? Or what is your plan for like the catalog, for example?
Well, I've already purged over 10 million views on my channel. I have been going through deleting multiple videos that I no longer agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And there are still other videos that I actually am planning on deleting coming up. What happens is when you delete like a fuck ton of views off your channel, it like has the potential to sink your channel to like really bad low places. And since my channel's already struggling, I'm trying to like go through a process of purging out the videos. So that's probably why, people want to know, like, you're still seeing certain content. For example, there's a video on where called Trolling the Pride March, where I talk about like there only being two genders and shit. That video has almost 3 million views. So I've already purged another video earlier this month with like 3.7 million views. So too many videos being deleted at the same time has the potential to really like just fuck your channel over
With the algorithm and everything.
Yeah, with the algorithm. And like, I am with a management company who also told me that like, yes, deleting too many videos can be like damaging just for the algorithm. So I'm kind of giving it some time. But yeah, I've already deleted 10 to 15 million channel views. I was at over 100 million views when I started the purge, and I was down to like 80, 90 million now. And then yeah, I still have a couple more that I'm going through to remove. And then I also see people asking in the chat if I'm still making money on those videos, and most of them no. Most of them are either demonetized or I've demonetized them myself. So I would probably say no. I mean, there's probably a video here and there that's monetized. It's funny how like I sometimes forget about content after having like 4 years of posting content on there.
Yeah.
But I am going through deleting the videos.
I think one problem that a lot of people have is like people just like are really opposed to either redemption arcs or even the concept like someone is trying to change or trying to better themselves, right? And I think that's, especially people on the left, they're really worried about gatekeeping, grifting, stuff like that, which again, I totally agree with you. I don't think it's a very profitable place to be grifting, to say the least, but I think what you are doing is kind of a template, and it's a good one. Like I'm giving you praise in this respect, because like it has been really interesting to see. I started following your stuff after I saw you on Vosh, because like the two of us usually like collaborate every now and then. So when I saw
Mhm.
that, and then afterwards I saw like this turn, and then I saw the videos until like, when did you post that last one on trans rights? Maybe like,
Oh, that was 2 days ago now.
okay, yeah, and that one I was like, this should be a template for what people
Mhm.
want to do if they want to, like, because like, we're all shit. Like either now
Right.
or at some point, everyone's a piece of shit, right? I've been a piece of shit. I just wasn't as online as you are. So like all the shitty things that I was thinking or I would have regurgitated back then, just they're
Mhm.
not on YouTube. So there's just not a
Right.
record of it. So like that's basically the biggest difference. But I think
Mhm.
if someone is willing to go and put in the effort, like you did for that one video, especially, that should be a template for like, I like, I've learned a lot. Here's the research, the science, the data, and here's why this is like a super fucked up way to go, right?
Mhm. Right, right,
Um,
right.
I guess there's not really a question there. It was more like, oh, good job on that last video, Hunter. Um,
Thank you, I appreciate it. And I'm gonna be doing that kind of shit for more videos too, and that's another reason why I'm a little more cautious with deleting some of my old ones that are still up, because I actually had to like jump through a bunch of hoops to actually find the original trans video because I deleted it. So thankfully, someone had like uploaded it on Facebook a long time ago, and that's how I was able to get it. But
hmm,
I had to like look all around to try to find my own video, hoping someone somewhere had re-uploaded it or something. So
that's wild.
yeah, so I'm gonna be doing some responses to other videos too. And there are some other videos that I've already removed also. One of them that I deleted. I've been deleting like some of my biggest, most viewed videos too, because although like it sucks, I guess, to see like, oh, that video I made got a lot of views. It's not worth it because I know what I'm saying and it's just untrue.
Hmm.
But there are some other videos that I've already deleted that I have archived that I'm going to be doing responses to also. So that's definitely not the end of me sort of going through and breaking down my old content and explaining why I was wrong.
Yeah. When people ask in chat, I think they're virtually indistinguishable to the algorithm if you privatize a video or you delete it. Either way, he's right. Like I never thought about that aspect of it, especially if you had a monstrous catalog that you have to go through and you're like, well, I want to definitely change the narrative here, that you can tank your channel in the process. Because like I've done it to other YouTube channels. If you suddenly turn off a bunch of
Right.
videos, it really fucks you up in how you're presented in the algorithm. From like, look at someone like Dusty Smith, everybody. Like, like what happened to his channel? He like it virtually overnight it tanked completely.
Right. And since my channel's already kind of, at least compared to the numbers I was used to before, I'm kind of in a tough spot right now. So I am trying to make it a slower process. But I would also be curious to know which videos I guess some of your followers are referring to, because I have
I can
deleted a pretty hefty amount.
I think I can tell you the exact ones.
All
Because
right, let's go.
I got a message. If you want to hear them, yeah, I
I
gotta
would be
find the
curious
post.
for sure.
Okay.
And I'm not even like challenging this. I
Yeah, no, of
genuinely am
course. Okay,
curious.
so silly trans men explain male privilege, the truth about Trump's transgender military ban,
Okay.
transgender kids, it's time to stop, and trolling
Mm.
Pride March. Those are the big four.
Okay. So the
Yeah.
trans kids one, yeah. All of those are set to be deleted. The Pride one actually is going to be deleted very soon, probably within the next couple days here. Um but the transgender kids, it's time to stop. That video I made much more recently. So although it had like an inflammatory title, a lot of people need to understand that some of my content, right? Like I have a larger right-wing base. So I need to
Mhm.
create content that appeals to a right-wing base while also pushing like the true narrative about trans people, right? So trans kids, it's time to stop. Yeah, that sounds really inflammatory, but when you actually get into the video, I talked about like some like yikesy shit that every now and then happen, but I also talked about how like puberty blockers are an effective form of treatment for kids who are transgender when they're young. So
Oh,
I would
so
have to.
you don't go down the Joe Rogan path there of being like, this is not something that like it's child abuse or stuff like that, because
Yeah, no,
that is deeply problematic if that's the case.
I know. I only briefly talked about like there was like a study done or something where I'm trying to remember because I made that video it feels like a long time ago now too. But I talked about there were some like procedures that they were talking about like giving to kids or something, which I don't think is good. Like I don't think you should be giving like irreversible procedures. But as far as the puberty blocker stuff, because the right goes nuts about the puberty blocker shit.
Oh,
Like
I know. It's a big talking
I
point.
I I don't know if you saw, I got made fun of by Paul Joseph Watson a little while back because I was saying how like puberty blockers are actually not very bad. They're kind of harmless for kids to use.
Mhm.
So no, I didn't go down the Joe Rogan path with that video. But the other videos, yeah,
What did
they are
PJW
wrong.
say?
Oh, PJW was, what did he say? He was like, Hunter Avallone, this conservative, thinks that puberty blockers are okay or something. And there was a clip that the alt-right was circulating around Instagram that they had snipped from a debate I had with this other like far-right lunatic, and where I talked about puberty blockers. And of course, you know how they always clip it down, right, to make it
Oh, of
sound like what
course.
you're saying isn't actually really very good. So
Mhm.
they like clipped it down, snipped it from all different parts to make it sound like I had like some weakly constructed thing, like just give kids puberty blockers or something. But
And then
in
weaponize it.
reality, during that debate, I just went into how like, you know, it's a process and it's been shown to help. And the people who are like so adamantly against puberty blockers, I sometimes wonder, I'm like, would you deny like a kid with a kid with cancer chemotherapy because it could cause nerve damage? Probably not. So if if puberty blockers have been shown to like greatly reduce the likelihood of the trans person committing suicide in the future, then that sounds like a win to me.
Yeah, I think
Especially because
you
they
pulled
are
up the actual
pretty
data
reversible.
on that, right? Where you were like, it goes from 56% suicidal ideation to 4%, which is true. Like
Right.
that's large part due to the social stigma. Actually, it's in most part due to social stigma. Which again, the shitty thing about someone like Joe Rogan is like directly contributing to that when he says things like, kids shouldn't be allowed to have it. You know, they're basically, that's child abuse, all that kind of shit like that.
Right.
That is contributing to that atmosphere.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I definitely think there are some. I've also talked about, for example, like drag queen stuff, like drag culture,
Mhm.
like the Desmond is amazing situation. How do you feel about that?
I don't know enough about it to comment on it, to be honest.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, he's like a drag queen kid basically,
okay.
and my issue with that, and I've talked about this too in more recent videos, um, it's just that I think the culture surrounding drag queens isn't like the most age appropriate for like he's like 10 years old, like dancing on stage and
Is it something
stuff.
his parents are forcing him to do? Is it part of like a pageant
I don't know if
circuit?
his parent yeah, I don't know if his parents are forcing him to do it, but it's definitely a situation kind of like that where it's like the kid seems really young, he doesn't really seem like he knows what's fully going on. And I would be the first one to say that like that's fucked up, just like it's fucked up when moms force their daughters to be in like those pageants, like the toddlers and tiaras or whatever. Like
Mm.
all that kind of stuff I just don't think is appropriate for children.
I think if he's gravitating towards it naturally, he just wants to like, dress up in women's clothing, and who knows, maybe he's like non-binary, he's exploring his feelings. That's all fine. And then I
Mm-hmm.
would say, yeah, if you have to put this on display and make them join pageants or stuff, I totally agree with you, because like I'm not really comfortable with child pageants either. But
Right.
like I think if
There's
he just
just
wants,
something I feel like it always crosses the line of like sexualizing kids. And
Mhm.
it really is just it's just not a good environment
Oh,
for.
child pageants definitely do. Yeah, it's a weird look. I've never
Yeah,
watched
no,
one where I was
it's
like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
yeah, no, it's pretty gross actually. So I think we're in agreement there too because I wouldn't have a problem with like a 10-year-old kid wearing girls' clothes or whatever. Like I don't give a fuck.
Or even leaving the house in them. To be honest, if that's what he feels
Oh
comfortable
yeah,
in,
no,
I'm
absolutely.
I'm 100% fine with all that.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
just don't.
if the
Yeah,
kid wants to wear like a dress to school or whatever, more power to him.
yeah. No, of course. Do you
So.
mind if I ask some questions from the audience? They've been like adding me the whole time with things, and I don't know how much more time you have. I don't want to keep you any longer than you have
Yeah, sure.
allotted.
Well, let me
But
see how long have I been on the call here? How do I check? Oh, 6. Yeah, I probably can. I probably have another 20 minutes or so.
okay, nice.
Yeah.
All right, so just at me, chat. It'll be the easiest way to find them. But the first one would be, what are your takes on the election, and who are you voting for?
Honestly, I wish I could answer that because I wish I knew. But I don't think I will not be voting for Donald Trump. Um, but I really don't like Biden either. but I guess it does kind of come down to who's going to do the least amount of damage. I guess.
Yeah, that's
It's
pretty much
kind of
it.
it's a really bad election, honestly. I don't know. Like, I wish the Democrats could have just nominated anyone else. And you know what? I'll be honest. If Bernie was the nominee, I would vote for Bernie easily in a fucking heartbeat. Like,
Nice.
Bernie actually, his message actually resonated with me so strongly. And although there's still some, policies and ideas he has that I probably wouldn't quite agree with, or maybe, not fully agree with, he
Would be too far left for you.
Yeah, it's almost like an optics thing. Like I almost just wish he would have called himself anything but a democratic socialist, because anytime anyone hears socialist, it's like, like, especially if you're on the right, you know what I mean? So,
oh, someone's asking, how do you define yourself now? And by the way, Chad, can I remind you, like, speaking, like, there's been a lot of other people I've interviewed, like Caleb, for example. If they're leaving something like, and Hunter, you were never the alt right, like, you were just a conservative, right? You just had some alt right fans,
right?
As far as I know, yeah. But like, people do not need labels the next day. It's not like, okay, I've gone from a conservative to blank, but
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I kind of just call myself a centrist right now, although I really hate that label.
The new center.
Yeah, exactly.
Balanced as all things should be, right?
Right. But right now, I'm trying to like just avoid a label for now, because I just want to believe what I believe, and I don't like the sort of conformity of you have to fit in this box or that box. And it's funny because I feel like a lot of people on the right have convinced themselves that like they're sort of like the free thinkers or whatever. But it's like, no, y'all are in such a box that the minute anyone like me kind of bumps out a little bit, all of a sudden it's like
he's a communist.
Everyone just turns their back on you. So I'm just kind of trying to learn a little bit more about certain politics. I mean, I definitely identify with like leftists on all the gender stuff now, but I'm definitely not to the point of like socialism or kind of thing. It's a process. I'm still learning.
Yeah, no, of course. Okay, here's one of the last questions. You don't have to give specifics, but everyone has been repeatedly adding me to find out who is like the biggest cringe or biggest person on the like the YouTube celebrity, whatever, on the right, that you were working with.
Oh, that I've like met face to face.
Sure.
Ooh, that's a tough one because there's a lot of them. I'm trying to think the most cringy right winger that I was actually working with.
Or met.
I mean, no bullshit was the one who I did the most work with, so I guess that he's kind of the answer there for as a default. But I've just
Under
met
the bus.
Right. I also I never really worked with Lauren Chen, although like I associated with her at different events. So she was kind of cringe. Actually, you know what? One of them
Canadian cringe.
Oh, fuck. One of them is Blair White, obviously.
Oh,
God,
shit, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, actually it's funny. So, when was this? I'm trying to remember all the years to everything. This was back in 2019, still early 2019, very early 2019. I like went to Blair White's apartment.
Wow.
And we were all like just hanging out, me, Blair, her fiance, and then there was Jacqueline Glenn was there. And then there were a couple other people too. But yeah, I'd say then that's the winner right there, Blair White. Yeah. Hands fucking down. Oh my god.
She made
Don't get me started on Blair White.
Well, she made a video. Sorry, I won't go too deep into this, but she made a video not too long ago that was like her calling out conservatives, being like, "You will not believe what they ask me to say, what they ask me to do, what people have offered like to pay me to say in like the conferences and stuff like that, just to talk the worst kind of shit about the trans community, and like I won't do it." And that when that video came out, everyone was like, "Holy shit, she's doing like a pivot or something," and then that was it. And then next video was going right back to grifting.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, like I'm trying to ease up with how many people I just freely and liberally call a grifter. Blair White, like, yeah, like Blair White maybe is sincerely that stupid, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that yeah, she takes the cake for the cringiest. I mean, the amount of times that she's just blatantly lied on her channel, or even just gets like simple things wrong. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing. There was that video she did not too long ago about the trans person that was let out of prison or something. And of course, the narrative was because trans people or no, because they're transitioning now, they're getting let out of prison early. How unfair, kind of thing. When actually it was that like the hormones they had been taking played a role in determining their likelihood of reoffending. And I still remember
Wow.
Blair was like, you don't let people free based on their likelihood of reoffending. And I was
Wow.
like, yeah, but you actually fucking do. I mean, me and my wife did like a super fast Google search, and the first result was talking about how prisoners are let out on their likelihood of reoffending. Just basic, like simple research like that. I don't think Blair takes the time to do it because why does she need to? She gets like 1 million views on every video for just kind of rambling clumsily about like how trans people are bad.
I find like, well, that's usually the case with a lot of those arguments. I find just like the cursory Google search, like, whoa, first like 6 results, like directly refute this. Interesting.
Right. And it just seems like she doesn't do a lot of research. And of course, that's showed itself in much more like damaging ways as well, with her falsely accusing multiple people of being pedophiles. And then she also lied a while back about this. There was a mom whose kid was trans or something, and Blair strongly insinuated that because the mother was a trans activist, that she was encouraging and or forcing her child to be transgender, when again, little bit of research would have found the mom giving a fucking speech at like an event talking about how she didn't have an understanding of transgenderism, and then her child started expressing signs of like being transgender, and then she became a trans activist.
Surprise.
And this woman was given was piled on with harassment and hate from Blair's fans because she just lied. And to this day, that video is just still up, sitting on her channel, no correction, nothing. Because I whether Blair's sincere or not in her stupidity, one thing is true, is that she doesn't give a flying fuck about truth. She doesn't care. She just cares about propping up her narrative, and that's it. Wow. So maybe that does make her a grifter. I don't know.
I mean, I didn't ask you to spill some tea, but that was wild.
That's all like public shit. People know. Like, you can just find this on the internet, but a lot of her fans are just they just ignore it.
Wild. So. Man, Hunter, like, I can't thank you enough. This was an awesome convo. Honestly, yeah, it's really cool to see what you're doing in terms of like going back through your old shit and making videos about it. I do genuinely mean that. I think that what you made should be a template for like other content creators if they kind of want to undo damage they've done in the past. So that's really admirable.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for having me on the show too. It was a lot of fun.
To our monarch, Thomas Bone, you are the light that guides our path. To our lords, I'm Rab, Stephen, Nine Tails Cosmic Fox, and Hans Josephine, we bow meekly for your pleasure. To our knights of the Round Table, Josh Mickelson, Dylan Bythe, Alexander Thaler, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, Todd Lajeunesse, Clement Schutzkopf, Skybear Games, Moss Beast, Political Puppy, Alan R., Andreas Chitoro, Good Poon Hates Cops, That's Solid Poon Then, we salute you. And to all our merchants and farmers, you have our undying loyalty and love.